So I have a confession to make. I was doing more wire trimming and I got carried away. No, I actually just went and got my hair cut. I wouldn't do that to myself. Let's get going on wiring. So here's my 3 brand new connectors, fresh from the eBay store. They're probably not OEM colors. Don't let that frighten you, it's not that big a deal. This looks like it's gonna be the TPS. Indeed. Somebody put wires here in the way. Go figure. Click. I can see it. It'll go. All right, and then this will be the intake air control, idle air control valve. The other one that starts with an I. Well, that one clicked right on. Much better. All right, and then this is the intake air temperature. All right. Voila. All right, with those in place, let's wire them in. These are my favoritist connector types for doing this kind of work. These are very similar to what those OEM splices were that we looked at when we were disassembling the loom. So you've got a couple different varieties as far as the gauges go. There's these that are kind of like, they're wider. I don't like those as much, but the nice thing about these is you get a longer tail section for getting the shielding around the cable if necessary. These kind, you just put directly on the, just the copper section of the wire. I'll show you in a moment here. Something else you're gonna need for any splicing is heat shrink. I prefer the heat shrink that has the glue inside so that when you heat it up, it gets all melty, makes it nice and water tight, so you don't have to worry about if any water gets in there. The downside to the glue kind is that it is a lot stiffer after being shrunk down, so your harness will become less pliable. So just make sure that you only use it as much length as you absolutely need to mitigate some of that bending. I'm gonna take a moment and fill up my tackle box with all of my loose supplies that I just dug out and get a little bit organized here before I start working. Then I need to test these to make sure they're the glue type, because yes, I've made mistakes while ordering before. Sadly, the stuff of mine that I found is not the stuff with the glue, otherwise you would see it mildly oozing out right there, but no such luck. But I got a lot of it. I'm actually not that worried about water exposure here. It does make a pretty nice seal anyway. It'll probably at least be water resistant. So I'm just gonna move forward instead of spending all day cleaning, all to find out that what I'm looking for, I don't have. So, we'll carry on. Also, by the way, it was 22 degrees in here when I walked in. It's now almost 24. It is like a whopping, like 7 degrees outside right now. So my garage stays warmer than outside. That's cool. And when the sun hits the roof, it starts warming up, but yeah, it's cold. Good news, in searching for my better crimping tool, which is still MIA, I found more heat shrink. So we'll test this, and if it's glue type, we'll use this. And indeed it is. It's gonna be hard to see, but right at, there we go. Right at the edge of the opening, it kind of looks wet because that's the glue coming out. So we'll use this. All right, so this is the smallest size I have. So crimping's a little interesting. So the sides are overlapping instead of folding in, but reality is that's gonna hold. And it's gonna hold a heck of a lot better than trying to just twist them together and tape and pray. It's also gonna hold a lot better than those stuff you just get off the counter at the parts store that have their own kind of colored covering on them. You know what I'm talking about. Then we'll heat shrink this, and we are done with one. Many more to go. Get on there. There. And don't forget that lesson we learned tearing apart the harness. I'm not going to put the next connector right next to this. That's probably not a great idea. Instead, we'll stagger it. I'll cut some length off of this, and then I'll cut the sheathing off. That way they stagger and take up less space. One connector done. Nicely separated, but still in the same location. So if you're looking for it, it's right there. Now we move on to the next one. Man, it's cold. While I'm here, I'm gonna do future Nathan a favor and test these leads out. Just make sure that what's obvious is obvious between the outside leads. We have 5 kilo ohms. Yeah, 6K. All right, and then if I somehow operate the throttle, it does not change. That makes sense. And then our wiper here in the middle, a brown to purple at 0 idle is 0.7 kilo ohms. At full throttle is 6 kilo ohms, as I would expect. If we go purple to blue, which is the other side, so blue to purple, yep, 6 kilo ohms at idle, full throttle, 0.9 kilo ohms. Nice. So, now I have it on video. I can go back and watch my own stuff to figure out what the heck when I go to wire the other side. By the way, more realistically, I'm not gonna actually go back and watch this video when I'm doing the other side. What I'm going to do is when I'm editing this video, I'm going to make a note on my wiring diagram as far as which goes where. I might need to go start a fire. It is cold. My hands cannot do this for another hour. BRB. Okay, it's taking me some time. I don't know if the temperature's up because it's going to be later in the day, or if it's up because my fire is going, but it's now 27 in here. Woohoo! It is still cold, but my hands have thawed out at least. So let's get at least a couple more cables done. All right, so now that we got those 3 clips on, I'm going to find some electrical tape to pin things where they need to be in relation to each other here in the engine bay, so that all those lengths are correct when we pull everything out to bring inside to do all of the end termination for the ECU side. So let me go see if I can find some decent electrical tape around here. I'm pretty sure this is Harbor Freight brand, but we'll make it work. All right, so now that all that's kind of nicely, neatly tucked, as you can see, so now when I go bring everything back to a bench, I know roughly how much length I need at each juncture. Even if I have to pull the tape off, which I assume I will, I at least can then keep my lengths the same, and then when I reroute it all should lay nicely. I gave myself a nice big flag here, which is right where it's going through the firewall, so then I can kind of guesstimate from there how much I need to keep, and anything that's not long enough, extend, and anything that's has excess, I've got a kind of a known entity point here. So I'll bring all this inside, and then at some point I'll need to figure out what my distance from this hole to the ECU is going to be, because the ECU is not even mounted currently. I'm going to change that mount out, but for now, I think that's a job well done, and that's good progress. Little steps at a time. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't chew more than you can swallow. Something. I don't know. Anyway, keep jamming.